Alrighty. Esper Delver. So the question that's going to be on my mind as I play this deck is what we're doing with this deck better than just playing Death Shadow? This deck's got a lot of parallels to that. It's got the giant delve creatures. Notably, this deck's leveraging Lingering Souls. And is Spell Queller worthwhile? Another question. So those are some things to think about. This deck does get to play some quality interaction in the form of both Path and Fatal Push. One thing I'm kind of wondering on too is there's like these two copies of Vapor Snag. Like this split between like Path Push and Vapor Snag feels weird to me. I'd be kind of surprised if Vapor Snag ends up being better than just like having another piece of actual removal. Realizing your favorite meme deck is unplayable trash is like growing up and realizing there's no light in modern anymore. Are the counterspell is really better than discard spells? That's a good question too. Like in that kind of goes back to the is this better than like what Grixis Shadow's doing. Like Spell Pierce tends to be worse than things like Inquisition and Thoughtseize in Modern in general, because again, the name of the game in Modern is being proactive, and like these very reactive discard or counter spells tend to not do that. Same thing, like there's a random Echoing Truth in here. So we'll play a few games and see how it goes. Hey Zix, thank you for the $30 tip. I appreciate it. We're having a fantastic Friday. For 4-color Vanifear in Standard. Happy to get that added in. This hand's missing a white source, but it's got turn 1 Delver, so I think I'm going to keep. Why'd you turn on your heater? Are you not warm enough burning all these things? I actually just turned it off. So the tickets are keeping me warm. Greetings, Flab. White Source and a Fetch Land are both good pickups here. Fetch Land helps us work towards Tasigur in a reasonable amount of time. White Source lets us cast Lingering Souls, which is great. Tide Hollow Scholar. Aside from small audio issues because they're on the floor of packs that they really can't help, the production for the Mythic Invitational has been quite good from what I've watched so far. The duo standard format seems to be a little bit to be desired as predicted. Doesn't seem like it's a format that allows for a lot of player agency. There's a lot of really awkward games where like, you know, the players have like one control and one aggro deck, so the players are just like flipping a coin on if their hand's actually keepable or not. What do you think about exploring Sultai Vanifear in Standard? We played Sultai Vanifear right when the format first started, and it didn't seem that fantastic. The biggest problem with playing Sultai Vanifear in Standard is like, do you end up just being like a strictly worse version of Sultai midrange? I think is the problem a lot of the time. Fetty, thank you for the 13-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, I really like Teamer Vanifear, and the Bant Vanifear deck's been okay. I think I like Teamer better than the Bant configuration, but both of them have felt reasonable in Standard. See, I don't think, I've heard a few people make the Hearthstone comparison with the coverage this week, and I really don't think it's a fair comparison. Because, like, if they wanted to just be Hearthstone, they could have very easily have just copied the Conquest format, right? I think they genuinely wanted to try something new, and they tried, and it doesn't seem very good, so hopefully they try other things. Like, the first step towards being good at something is kind of sucking at it, so you got to iterate to get something right. You could maybe argue that it's not ideal for them to, like, iterate on new format ideas at something as big as the Invitational, but that's another discussion. Yeah, Owling Mine only has one good matchup, and it's 8 rack, and we lost to it in the second match, so I decided I was done with that pile of cards. I like them proactively cycling the Relic here, especially if they have a second one. They need to get to some action. I didn't play the Lingering Souls last turn because by waiting a turn here, I can play and flash it back in the same turn, so the Relic never gets to exile it, which is nice. Opponent's deck is looking to be like this awkward pile of mid-range fair cards, which Lingering Souls is quite excellent in these style of matchups. A little bit slow in the combo-focused matchups, but if our opponent's also being kind of mopey, Lingering Souls tends to grind out value great. Yeah, but like if you listen to the feedback that I'm giving TDM, the feedback that I'm giving has nothing to do with the fact that they're doing Arena in person. Like, it's specific to the format that they're playing, that they're having these people play. Like, they could have done exactly what they're doing today, but with traditional best of 3 with sideboards, or Conquest, or something similar to the Specialist format, and I think it would be better than what they're doing right now. I think you can make the argument that they just, like, shouldn't have tested this random new format that seems to lack player agency at an event the size of the Invitational. At the end of the day, the event seems to be doing what they wanted to do, which is showcasing Arena. I think what's his name? Ristic Studies. Hey, Hyperspec, thanks for the biddies. Hope you're having a great Friday. Ristic Studies made a great sports ball analogy on Twitter when they posted that we were all expecting to watch baseball, but they gave us a home run derby. And, like, that's just such an apt comparison, right? Because, like, we didn't all, like, we were expecting it to be, like, a traditional best of 3 standard tournament. In reality, it's, like, the goal of this weekend is to just showcase Arena. And it is showcasing Arena well, which is the ultimate goal. Someone asked for and if I would play something or not. I never tell you yes or no based on the name of your deck list. If you're wondering, will I play X, you should always go ahead and submit that deck through the deck list form on my website. For people who are like me that might not know what a home run derby is, because I had to look it up because I don't do sports. The comparison is apt because apparently the purpose of a home run derby is just to, like, kind of show off the players and, like, their ability to do one specific thing related to baseball, not their ability to play baseball as a whole. Which is similar to what this format's doing. So, I'm actually getting rewarded here for my sequencing. I very specifically exiled the 2 cards out of my graveyard so I could leave up this cast down. So in the event that they played Thought Seer this turn, I could kill it in response to its trigger. Thanks for the free card. I appreciate you. But it's such a good comparison for the Invitational, right? Because, like, the Invitational isn't showcasing full, like, what we expect Tournament Magic to be, right? Like, it's showcasing, like, these game ones, and it's showcasing... I don't want to say a variety of decks, because a lot of people all brought the same decks, but it's doing a thing. I bottomed that and then drew the second one, so for reference. We're just not talking about the Owen thing, big eyes. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that comment. So I prefer not to have people speculating on that in chat. Although I guess the Creeping Trumpet doesn't even really matter here because they have Field of Ruin lying in wait. I'm going to be conservative and send 2 of these at Liliana because I don't think I'm close enough to killing them to just race her at this point. So if they have a removal spell, I want to make sure she dies. Yeah, you're back, big guys. I just removed your message. Yep. So, they get to Strangle the Delver. They get to Field the Tar Pit. But then we're still winning the race here. What's going on, Ozzy? Well, thanks for the support. We'll be okay here without things like the Mythic Invitational. I think I've successfully readjusted my worldviews to never expect anything from WotC, so we'll be okay. That was a big part of my frustration. I had this unrealistic expectation that, like, if I like changed how I presented myself and like focused more on being constructive and specific, then like, you know, they'd be more willing to work with me, and then it just didn't happen. And I let my frustration out about that situation in a less than ideal way. That's okay. I understand that, yeah, low expectations. We say, and I say that all the time on stream, right? Low expectations is the key to happiness, so. I had the unrealistic expectation that they would be appreciative of what I bring to their game, and they are not, and that's okay, because there's a lot of great people out there who aren't them, who are appreciative, and I just need to focus on those people and not on them. Would you accept? No, Revel in Riches is just not a playable Magic card. I think I want Lingering Souls next turn. Sure, why not? Thanks, Punchworthy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know there's so many of you out there that are great, and at the end of the day, like, my life's quite fantastic. I don't really have too much I should complain about. Just let too many echo chambers get into my head and then responded in a way that was poor. More importantly, I now have the silver badge. Woohoo! Fen Amanon, thank you for re-upping your Basil Bucks for the second month in a row. Welcome back. Are you dead yet? Hallowed one in the mono red bird shell. That's like what's old is new, right? I feel like that was a thing not long ago. Man, this sideboard does not seem great. Like, I have these Countersqualls and these Spell Pierces, all of which that aren't very good. And I don't really have a lot of meaningful things to board in here that are good against creature decks. I guess Zealous is fine here because they're a Lingering Souls deck as well. Kuntz, thanks for the biddies. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. Is it true that I will do a sideboard guide for your deck? Yes, for a $25 donation, I will get to a sideboard guide for a deck of your choosing, usually within a week or so. When are we playing Wizards? After this one. We just started Delver, so Delver's going to be for another hour and a half or so. It's not Board and Stroke. One rejection's probably fine. Unmoored Ego's good against Magic cards. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, the Frenzy League, our match result wasn't good, but they were some good games of Magic. Nope, it is just a viewer-submitted deck list. I have low expectations. I'm pretty confident it's a pile of dog poop. Hopefully we run good and get some good matchups so we don't just set 8 tickets on fire. Turn 1, Delve Redo. Let's do it. I couldn't tell, but I couldn't tell for certain, but was there not a timer / rope for individual game actions at the Invitational? I was watching off and on yesterday, and I don't think I saw at any point a rope pop up. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, there's only a chess clock with the weird sudden death thing, right? I don't know what Amplifier does. Oh, that's the terrible creature that... That's the terrible creature, like exile creatures from the top of your deck. I would love to reveal an opt. Thank you. I mean, to be fair, highest life total wins is just like the textbook how you decide sudden death. Hazix, if you look on the deck submission page, there are a ton of details at the bottom. There's an FAQ section that covers, I think, most of what you asked there. Nice, hostage. That's really funny. It's a good draw. It's a reason to Thought Scour in advance here. So I have Snapcaster Mages in my deck, so I'm going to leave Opt and Cast Down in here. Yeah, but I think that makes more sense for something like competitive Smash Brothers Smugface, because in Smash Brothers, the current stock is a little bit closer to a scoreboard than current health total in Magic is, right? So this attack indicates they have another Wasteland Strangler. I'm blocking because I can Ceremonious Rejection it. I really wish there was a good way to know how many actual organic viewers the Mythic Invitational had. I agree. I agree. My takeaway from watching most of yesterday and then a lot of this morning is that everything other than the format that they're playing about the Invitational seems like it's very well done and going well. Thank you. I'm going to link a clip to that. Yeah, I agree. Sub-only chat mode here has been an improvement, and unless something drastically changes about the stream in the near future that's outside of my control, it's going to remain in sub-only mode moving forward. Even on slow days like today, there's still plenty of activity in chat for me to have questions to talk to, folks to talk to, things to bounce ideas off of. Yeah, I genuinely didn't realize how annoyed my mood was getting having to constantly parent when we weren't in sub-only mode. And, like, the alternative to not parenting when you're not in sub-only mode is basically letting your chat devolve or become useless, like ignoring it or moderating it. And you see receive statistics about change in views, follows, etc. after sub-only mode. So viewer count as a whole is down about 20%, but it's also hard to know exactly if the viewer count being down 20% is directly related to the sub change or just because of the point we're at in Magic Cycle. Like, a lot of the people that stream a lot of Standard, their viewer count's currently down a little bit. So I think it's at least partially related to that change, but it's hard to know exactly how much it's related to that change. I also think that there are going to be a number of people who, at least a small number, who sub specifically to get that interaction. I think there are people who will come in and who are new, who will see how well I interact with people who do sub and sub to get that interaction with me. I sub to get away from Duo Standard. So, Thought Scour puts 3 cards in my band. This would put a 4th, so I can't play Tasigur this turn regardless. So I think I'm just going to play Delta and pass. Do you think the quality of Standard impacts how many viewers there are? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree, Dual Josh. We're definitely at the point in the Standard format where we're like, most people, like myself included, are like very ready for a new set. And like, there's some interesting decks to play, and we're making the best of it. But like yesterday or Wednesday, for instance, my viewer count was back up to about where it was before I went sub only, because the new cosmetics caused an increase in viewer count. Hey, Edaw, thanks for the 2 months. I really appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, me too. I'm hoping between today and then I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should solidly be through all of the bad decks that I'm kind of waiting to get through. Deca XX. I'm just going to say XX. I'm not sure what your elite speak is supposed to be. Thanks for the Prime. I appreciate you shipping your Bezo bucks this way. I think I'm going to go ahead and Echoing Truth this Aether Vial here. I think it just buys me a lot of time. Ooh, we ditched the Lingering Souls. That's sweet. Alright, so we'll put this down. Unfortunately, this is an island, which means if they hit a Lord, their stuff's going to be unblockable. But I do need to put my land into play here. We're probably going to be a little bit slow on this race if they have an Island Walker. Hey, Pie Guy, thanks for the biddies. I really appreciate it. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Alright, we are very dead. Fun fact for those of you out there who enjoy your Magic history, the original intention of the card Blood Moon was to serve as a way to enable Mountain Walk. I'm just not going to play this matchup. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have like 7 removal spells. The sideboard really needs ways to interact with creatures, and it just doesn't. We just can't ever reasonably hope to race a decent draw out of the... Like, the last creature matchup, like Zealous Persecution. Zealous Persecution at least had text, but just really doesn't have text against most Merfolk hands. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think I would be pretty surprised if they banned Reclamation at this point. And I do think that style of deck is going to hold Super Friend style decks back in the next set when War of the Spark releases. Well, we're actually the most viewed not Mythic Invitational restream stream from the Magic section, which is funny. Yeah, I agree, Bug Helper. Been watching your content for over a year now on YouTube and finally decided that live interaction is much more better. Well, thanks, Head. I appreciate it. Good to have you here. I might snap this off on the draw, but I think on the play this isn't good enough. Keep the... That's interesting. So do I think because I have the second land, and this hand's such a great example. Could you imagine if I had this hand with the London Mulligan rules? I'm actually not going to use my fetch land on one here because I want to draw my second land. But if this was the London Mulligan rules, I just like shuffle away this Spell Snare and like get to play my Delver on one. I watched a lot of your Modern content over the summer, and I think Modern is so much more hostile. Modern is super hostile as a format. Agree. Yeah, I do have Opt and Scour if I wanted to play the Delver on one here, but I think it's right to just be a little conservative. I'm going to play this match out to its entirety, but my prediction here is that we're going to get caught with a lot of really awkward counter spells and crap like that in our hand, and we're just going to get run over by this creature deck because we don't have enough removal in our 75. I think there's a really good chance that all these Spell Snares and Spell Pierces should just be Inquisitions and Thought Seizes, and then this deck probably should just be like an Esper Death Shadow deck. Sam, thanks for the 3 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. How likely is it that London Mulligan ships to all formats? I would bet large amounts of money that the London Mulligan ends up being successful. Be incredibly surprised if it's not adopted. Yay! Look at this incredibly reasonable and beatable Magic the Gathering card. This makes all of my non-creature spells cost 1 more, which We have a couple of non-creature spells here, believe it or not, chat. And for those of you wondering why I didn't Spell Snare this 2-mana spell, the incredible, reasonable, and interactive Cavern of Souls is one of the many reasons that counterspells tend to be mostly unplayable in this format. What was our final record with Howling Mine? Believe it or not, we didn't win a match. That is something I touched on when we talked about the deck to start, Burgle. Alright, dumpster me one more time. Why didn't we opt in response? Yeah, that's probably better. I should probably cantrip in response there. I didn't opt in response because I was tilted about playing a matchup that's probably unwinnable against cards like Cavern of Souls that are just miserable for our deck to play against. If we're being above the board and honest. And again here, like, I'm trying to cut all these counter spells, and I don't really have fantastic things to bring in. Like, Zealous Persecution has some text here, but not really much useful. I have to leave cards like Echoing Truth in my deck, and Collective Brutality is not that good here. Neither is Liliana the Last Hope. What's your opinion on one sentence of the new Mulligan and or opinion of Modern right now? Modern right now is the worst it's ever been, in my opinion, as someone who's been playing Modern competitively since 2012. That's not to say that I hate all of the games in this format, or that I think there aren't interesting decisions to make in some cases. Like, I really love the Vanifear Core deck, but as a whole, just not a huge fan of where we're at right now. I've not posted the Modern Pod sideboard guide yet because I don't know what I want the deck list to look like yet. What needs to change to fix Modern? So, what needs to change to fix Modern is a really tough question, right? Because saying that your goal is fixing Modern implies that the current Modern format is broken. And I don't think the current Modern format is broken. I just think the current Modern format as a whole probably isn't for me as a person, as someone who enjoys mid-range and control decks and likes playing those styles of decks against each other. Modern's a format where you generally need to enjoy playing linear fast decks or enjoy playing a deck against those styles of decks. And Wizard of the Coast is even on record a number of times saying that they think the current format's healthy. So obviously what Modern is now is what they want it to be. And if it's not what I want it to be, that doesn't mean it's bad or broken. That just means it's not for me. And that's okay. Not every format of Modern has to appeal to every person. What would it take to turn Modern into a format that I would like playing? I would start with banning Faithless Looting, Ancient Stirrings, Mox Opal, and probably something else. I would try and take the format and actually turn it into a turn 4-5 format. I feel like Modern as a whole right now is a turn 2-3 format, which is to say that not that games literally end on the second and third turn, but games are effectively over on the second and third turn fairly often in Modern, in my experience. Nemesis, thank you for the 23 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for letting me know. Like, you effectively enter garbage time on turn 2 to 3 a lot of the time in Modern. Delver. Oh, Delver. You're clearly not talking about Eldrazi Winter. There was an emergency ban. For me personally, Distrominator, I felt like I played more meaningful and interesting games of Magic during Eldrazi Winter than I do in this current format. Eldrazi Winter was actually an incredibly interactive time for Modern. There wasn't a lot of deck variety, but the games that you played there weren't effectively over on turn 2 to 3 as often as they are now. The games were, in fact, one of the reasons why I was able to win with Kiki Cord as much as I did during Eldrazi Winter at major tournaments was because the games were long and grindy, which meant that even though my deck was worse than the Eldrazi decks, I got to make enough decisions to leverage my play skill over the course of a long game that I could outplay my opponents. Longer games with more decision points tend to favor players who are playing better because it gives them more chances to make meaningful decisions to beat their opponent. To give this deck the fairest of shakes, I'm going to play this game to its ultimate conclusion. I'm fairly confident at this point this deck can no longer win this game, but this is going to be the last match that I'm playing with it if we lose, so I'm going to do my best to try and win this match of Magic. I agree with Burgle. My commentary isn't about... Okay, so here's the thing. People talk about the format needs more interaction. There are good interactive decks in this format. Like... Jeskai and Blue-White Control are fine. Green-Black Rock has a ton of good interaction and puts up a lot of results. It's just the types of games those decks generate still lead to what I'm talking about, where the game is effectively over very quickly. Alright, so what do I want to do here? Do I want to play defense with these aberrations? I think I need to play defense with these aberrations. Yeah, it's referred to as Eldrazi Winter because that was when the 4-mana Eldrazi got printed and they were busted with Eye of Ugin. Other than Jund Rock, what are a few decks or cards would you be willing to play to kill JAC? I've seen a few people wrestling around the LGS with it. All the discard-based mid-range decks tend to be good against JAC. Alright, so we're going to Fatal Push Thalia in response to this trigger, I think. Surgical Extraction is not very good against Jeskai Ascendancy combo. Unless you're going with the it plays cards memes. Well, Eldrazi Temple is still legal. So referencing Eldrazi Temple, it's still in the format. So from a historical perspective, I was pointing out the thing that's no longer here. Do I want to double block this Lieutenant? I think that's my route to victory. I think my route to victory involves double blocking into removal spells and delve creatures. Oh, you know what? I should Thought Scour first here to see if I hit a removal spell. I could have hit a Path or a Fatal Push here. JK, Magic, didn't matter. Alright, that buys us a lot of time. Chasm, thank you for the 2-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday and a good start to your weekend. Where do you stand on the they should have banned Temple then I argument? I was on the Temple side. I would have preferred if Temple went away. Do we still have Zealous Persecution? And we do have Zealous Persecution in our deck. Unfortunately, most of these double hierarchs are 1/2s. But We could, if we rip a ZP with all these spirits, like, get a good block inside of combat. Like, it kills the Collector and the Noble, and then we get a good block inside of combat and be okay. Resolves. This game was a good example of what if the Vapor Snag had just been an actual removal spell. Like, we had a Vapor Snag that we ended up just letting getting exiled to Sin Collector that would have likely helped keep us in this game had it been an actual piece of removal. I'm not blocking here, because if we rip Zealous Persecution, I want as many blockers as possible. Excellent. This deck just kind of seemed like a bad version of Grixis Shadow. And that's what Delver really tends to feel like in this format in general when we play it. And we're actually going to play another Delver deck up next, but at least the next one's like a little bit closer to a burn deck. Yeah, I think if you want to play something with these delve threats, these cheap blue cantrips and stuff like that, you should just play Grixis Shadow or Blue-Black Shadow. Counter spells are much worse than 1-mana discard in this format. Again, the name of the game in Modern is be proactive, be aggressive, and discard spells are just infinitely more proactive than things like Spell Pierce and Spell Snare, and things like Countersquall. All right, it's been so long since we've done this on stream. But I need to go place an order with MTGO traders here really quick so I can get cards for the next 2 decks.